All right. Hate that he does that, but it does. All right. So, Jessica, let me make you set it up so you can share your screen.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Okay, I think you should be able to now.
I believe so. All right, let me go ahead and pull that presentation up. And then did you get the PDF copy that I sent over?
If you just sent it over, I haven't yet. I've been, like I said, it's been kind of crazy around here. I was helping collect data for a camp a moment ago. So,
Oh, wow. Yes, so I sent that over not too long ago. So, and hopefully it'll share. There we go.
yes.
But yes, you're more than welcome to share that with students as well. So they have a copy of it, and there's a few QR codes that will, send them to, I think there's a resume format, some specific interview questions that they can look at as well. So they're more than welcome to look through those QR codes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So if you're, ready for me to take it away, I can get it situated.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So hello, everyone. As was mentioned earlier, my name is Jessica Maslaney, and I'm a career counselor here on campus. And basically what career counselors do is kind of implied right in the name. We help students find careers, right, with their majors, but we also help them in the prep work to find those careers. As you are a student, that can be anything from internship searching to working on resumes to cover letters. There's just so much that can help you find a career. So we're definitely that one-stop shop to help you kind of prepare for that experience. And based on that, I decided to title this presentation, Marketing Yourself Professionally, because really professional documents and interviewing, that's what you're doing. You're marketing yourself to these different employers, and you're letting them know, these are the skills that I have. These are the qualifications that I have. This is why you should hire me. And that's very much about marketing yourself to the employers. So again, we're going to be talking about some professional documents, not too much in depth. We're just going to do a general overview on resumes, cover letters, and then spend a little bit more time on interviewing, just because you will be coming in for those mock interviews. And I want to make sure that you're prepared for what that looks like when you come into the office. And I know some of you might be a little bit nervous for mock interviews. We are here to make that process not so challenging and fearful for you. So we're definitely here to help you grow. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So just wanted to also show you that we are definitely tailored to you, which means that we have different career counselors that specialize in the different colleges. And then, you can work with any of us, but we do tend to, again, specialize in these particular colleges. So you can come to me if you have questions about College of Education and Human Development. You can come to me for College of Liberal Arts. And then there's other career counselors as well that are available to answer any questions for the different colleges as well. So that is us. And I do recognize some of you that have already come in to work with us. So it's nice to see you all again as well. And so has anyone else come in? I know that I've seen one or two of you. Brandon, you're like, nope, I've never been in before. Has anyone else come in or at least heard of us a little bit? No, I see a few like heads shaking. Some of you are like, I don't even know what she's saying. I'm not paying attention. It's okay. I totally understand. Alejandro, I would hope that you would be paying attention. Just kidding. All right. So the services we have offered are job and internship search assistance, right? So we help in you finding jobs, whether it's on campus, off campus, even in different cities, right? Or in different states. We definitely have resources to help you find those jobs or internships. We help with career exploration. Sometimes you say, hey, I want to go into kinesiology, but I don't know necessarily what I want to do with that. We help you find different options within that major. We do degree change exploration, just in case, you find out, hey, this isn't for me. I want to go into a different major. What's that going to look like? We help with those conversations as well. Something that a lot of people don't know that we do is grad school application assistance, with brainstorming for personal statements. You do have to do resumes and cover letters a lot of the times for grad school applications. So keep that in mind as well. We help with that in our office. We do resume reviews, right? That's a little bit more popular. Mock interviews is a little bit more popular as well. And then employer events. We host a lot of events. They're usually during the fall and the spring. We don't have too many in the summer. That's more of our time to plan for the bigger events coming in the fall and the spring. But we'll definitely make sure to keep you all updated if any employer events come up. I know the community has some events that are coming up, so I'll make sure to, update Dr. Kesterson so she can share that with you all as well. And you can visit us in the University Center 304. We have walk-ins every day from 9 to 4. And then we have our phone number is provided on here as well. You can also make an appointment via handshake for a virtual or in-person appointment. And then I have a little QR code on here that can send you right to handshake. Sometimes I know it's a little bit challenging to find handshake. So we have that QR code on there to make it a little bit more streamlined for easier access for all of you. And then handshake, I'll throw this in there as well. Handshake is a really, really awesome job search site where you can find a lot of on-campus opportunities and off-campus opportunities. But handshake is specifically for, like, employers know that people on handshake are students. So they are definitely looking and recruiting the student population. So keep that in mind as well. And you can do, jobs here on campus on handshake, within the community, and you can even search by state. So there's really, really cool opportunities on handshake. So I suggest you check it out if you have not already. All righty. So any questions, by the way, on the services we have offered? You're more than welcome to, pop some questions in the chat as well.
I was going to say that was a really good point to make,
Mhm.
because LinkedIn and Indeed and all of those others are really looking, I mean, they're not targeted towards that student market, and or
Mhm.
someone who's just graduating. A lot of times someone wants someone who's just graduating, who they're skilled up, and so they're not
Yeah.
having to worry about reskilling or upskilling other employees. So that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Absolutely. And I will also say that the jobs that are posted on handshake are vetted through, our career center. So they're most likely going to be, and I would say most likely just because we can never say 100%, but they're most likely going to be legitimate job postings. Sometimes we can get some crazy ones when you're on LinkedIn or any other of the other job search sites. So be very careful, using those sites, but handshake, sorry, is pretty legitimate. So I definitely do suggest you look into handshake. Now, that being said, I quickly wanted to show you, I know that you don't have a resume appointment as a part of your assignment. However, I quickly wanted to, introduce what a resume appointment looks like in case you wanted to come in. And I highly suggest you do come in. It's always nice to have a second pair of eyes on your resume, just to point out, it could be from grammatical things to formatting. So again, you're more than welcome to come in for a resume appointment. In order to prepare for a resume appointment, we have a few different things that we like people to do. So one of the first things that we do suggest that you do to prepare is brainstorm the types of positions you're interested in applying in. So come in with some positions in mind for a resume, because resumes are tailored to particular positions and shouldn't be just like a general document. It is, again, tailored. So make sure that you have some positions in mind. They don't have to all be the same, but just come in with a few job titles so we can, do some research when you're in the office. I want you to think about how you would describe your past experiences to an employer. What are some of the skills that you gained and some of the achievements that you had when you were in these positions? And then bring a draft of your resume. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be fully fleshed out. Just bring in a draft so we have something to work on. And we also have templates as well that we can share with you all that we can build from as well. Oh, yeah. Yeah, job scams can be a little bit terrifying. And I know there have been some, pretty frequently sent on our email. So just be very careful to read through those before you click and start putting in more information. Breakdown of a resume appointment. So basically what that resume appointment looks like. We have an overview of your goals, right? What you want to accomplish with this appointment. We go over your resume draft. We work from high priority to low priority, right? If there's like some spelling mistakes, yes, those will be addressed, but probably not at the beginning of the appointment. We want to look at format, content, the meat of the resume, and then we'll go into the nitty-gritty parts towards the end. Provide suggestions for improvement. That's definitely what we're going to be doing as well. And then we're going to discuss next steps. We're not just going to say, hey, this is it, go on into the world and that's it. We definitely like to give you next steps to get into, what do we suggest that you do from this point on? And if you want to continue to interact with us, you're more than welcome to do so via email once we've had that initial appointment in person. All right. I would like to suggest some quick tips and tricks. If it will let me click, there we go. That's a little bit delayed. So resume creation, we will definitely talk about, and I don't know, Dr. Kesterson, are they required to come in? They're all required, right, to come in with the resume for their mock interview?
I have recommended that they submit it. I thought they had to do that when they made the appointment. But yes, that's a great point. And I think that they should. So yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely why I suggest, or I try to start off the presentation going over resumes first, just because it's important to have a resume when you're coming in for an interview, because they do reference that resume as they're going through that interview, as we will throughout your mock interviews as well. So please make sure you come in with a resume for that mock interview experience. That being said, if you don't feel super confident about your resume, still bring it in during our mock interview appointment. I can give you a few tips and tricks towards the tail end for your resume, and then we can set you up with a different appointment to talk about resume specifically as well. So just a quick little thing that I wanted to show you on here is the first thing you want to do when you're creating a resume is go into the job posting. So this goes back to what I mentioned earlier, to have a job in mind when you are creating your resume, because you do want your resume to be tailored to specific positions, just so that your employer knows that you did particular research into this position itself. And when you are writing a resume, there's something called the application tracking system, right? So the application tracking system, we now submit everything online. It scans your resume, it scans the job description, and it will tell employers how compatible you are to the job posting. If you're applying for a job, let's say for this personal trainer position at the Dugan, and there's 20 plus applications, the employer isn't going to look at all 20 of them. The application tracking system makes their lives easier by highlighting maybe the top 5 compatible candidates, and you want to be in that top 5. So make sure you're reading that job posting first, and then creating your resume based on that job posting. And I have a sample on here. This comes specifically from Handshake. It's for a personal trainer position right here at the Dugan. It talks about responsibilities, and then it talks about qualifications. So what you should do as you're creating your resume is look through here, look for what responsibilities you're going to be in charge of, what some of the qualifications are, and then include these things in your resume if they're true for you. For example, it says under qualifications, make sure that you are CPR, first aid, and AED certified. So you'd want to put in a certification section that you have all of these things so that an employer knows that you are qualified for the position. And it says experience with fitness programming or personal training. You might not have that in person yet, but I'm guessing a lot of your courses have trained you for this kind of experience. So we can talk about how to put that on your resume, even though you might not have like the necessary hands-on experience, the in-person experience, right, from beforehand. I see. Yes, use the buzzwords, absolutely, right? So sometimes, or even it says on here, for example, ensure facility cleanliness and tidiness, maintain client information. Using all of these really strong words in your own resume helps with the application tracking system. It helps the employer know that you are qualified for the position. So definitely use those buzzwords, as Dr. Kesterson mentioned as well. So that's what I would do before creating a resume. But once you get to the actual resume writing, And I'm going to skip this part a little bit just because I want to get into showing you what a resume template looks like, and I'll come back to this in a few moments. So ultimately, this is what a resume should look like: a professional, straight to the point, no template resume. This is definitely what it should look like. A lot of the times people come in, they like to use Microsoft Word templates. As beautiful as those are, they're really hard to edit, and sometimes the application tracking system doesn't read them so well. So what we suggest that you do is open up a blank Word document, change the margin size to 0.5 so that there's more room to write horizontally and vertically, and more fits on one page, and then just get typing, right? Make sure that you're using a font that's, everyone can read. It's not confusing at all, and you can just start typing. We will go over a little bit of what the sections should look like. But again, open up a blank Word document, changing the margins to 0.5 and start typing that way instead of choosing a format through Microsoft or Canva or whatever other, resource that you've been using. It is very simple, straight to the point. And I have that little QR code on here for resume format reference. You're more than welcome to scan that, and it'll send you to this document, and you can use this as that starting point to create your own resume as well. So this
the only thing I've seen, Jessica, with just going freehand is that oftentimes it is about the formatting. Formatting is really important, and you have to make it attractive. But I'm with you. I understand a lot of the templates are a bit much, and I also have like how you have this laid out with the objective and education. A lot of times the templates put the education way down at the bottom, and that's what y'all been focusing on for 4 years or more. And so you want that to be at the very top. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful thing about resumes is that there's no set format as to what goes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, other than the header and the objective statement right at the top. But you need to think about on your resume, what is the most relevant information that you want the employer to know first, and then what you want them to go next, and then what you want them to know third, right? So that's definitely up to you, but you need to think about what you want them to know about you. As Dr. Kesterson said, education is something that you've been working on for the past 4 years, so that definitely should be up top. Certifications and skills, as we saw on that job posting way back here, they want you to have those certifications and skills, so that should also be at the top as well. So those are decisions that you need to make as you're creating your resume, is deciding what section am I going to have first, what section am I going to have next, but there is no set, right? This goes first, this goes second, this goes third. What I will say, and this is the bottom half of that same resume, right? Just a little bit expanded. In this presentation, again, Dr. Kester said, please feel free to share it with your students. I have it broken down, and I haven't have a bad example on there, what not to do, right? But I have the resume format and content broken up into different sections, and I explain them in this presentation as well. I just didn't go into too much detail, knowing that we also needed to go over mock interviews as well, and that takes up a little bit of time. But these are the different sections that could go onto a resume. And then as we go on, I break down each of those sections and what goes in those different sections as well. So again, you all are more than welcome to look through the presentation and look at these different sections. And I'd be happy to explain any, questions or share any concerns that you have with me. And I'd be happy to talk about them with you during your appointments as well. So I did also want to say, quickly to what is a resume. So a resume summarizes your education, experiences, activities, skills, accomplishments, and honors, right? So make sure that you are thinking about what are the most relevant things that I have done that I would want the employer to know about. And that's something that you're going to consistently think through as you're creating your resume. It is a living document, which means that you edit it consistently. It's not something that it's like, I create it and I'm done. That's it. you are consistently updating that document. And then you are tailoring it, as I mentioned, to each position that you were applying for. It's not just I'm going to create one resume and send it to 20 different employers. Well, you cannot do that because 20 different employers are expecting 20 different things. So make sure you look into those job descriptions as you're creating your resume. And the biggest takeaway is, why is a resume important? Because your resume only has 6 seconds to make an impact with employers. That's not 30 seconds. That's not even a minute. 6 seconds is not a long time. And you want to make sure that your resume is eye-catchy, that it is, very tailored to that job posting again, and it shows that you are very qualified for the position. So please make sure to take the time to read the job description, identify your skills, your education, your activities that are relevant to the job that you're applying for, and make sure you put that on a resume in a way that's very professional and easy to read. If it's hard to read, they're going to probably look at it and put it in the no pile. It does take a lot of time to try to decipher sometimes what resumes say, and a lot of the times employers don't have that time. So keep that in mind as well. So I do have, resume format tips and tricks. You're more than welcome to look through these as well. One thing that I will say is, do not include references on a resume. That is not the section to put that on. It is important to have professional references, from professors, from employers, usually not from friends, unfortunately, right? You want them to be very professional, but that is a separate document in itself that the employer will ask for. They do not go on a resume. So that is something to keep in mind. If you have them on a resume, get rid of it, make that a different section, a different document. The resume is just, the job descriptions that for what you've worked for, your education, skills, activities, and so on. So it's just a quick little reference to references. Does anyone have any questions? I know I went through that pretty quickly just to make sure that we're staying within our time frame. Any questions about resumes?
I don't necessarily have a question, but I am glad to see that they are changing that thought of, because everybody's always been just one page. I'm one that I want to see what they've been doing. And if it takes more than one page, then I'm okay with that. So I'm glad to see the 2-page reference.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And especially if the student has had a lot of experience, then that's when they can start pushing into that, next page. I would say 2-page maximum is where I would end it. I've seen some come in with a lot more than 2 pages. And we definitely try to decide, well, what should we kind of cut down a little bit? What should we expand on a little bit more?
Right.
But again, 1 page is ideal. 2-page maximum is what I would suggest there.
Yeah. If you're planning on going into education, we have, it's called a curriculum vitae, and that's usually more than 2 pages, but that's a different deal. And I do appreciate that not putting references on your resume. That's a big thing as well.
Oh, absolutely. I have seen some curriculum vitae that are 34 pages. So that is something you do not have to worry about right now. And if you would like to come in, I've worked on a few CVs. We call them CVs before. So I have experience working on those. Thankfully, not the 34-page one, but I definitely have experience in that. And again, please feel free to look through this presentation and, use this as a reference. Bad example, right? As beautiful as this looks with the colors, this is one to stray away from. Use this one as your example to go off of. And let me go into so these are the different sections that I was talking about. It's really broken down. It shows you examples. So again, look through this for when you're creating your resumes. And if you come in, with a resume for the mock interview, we can have that, again, brief conversation as well. So cover letters, I know, is a big thing to also include whenever you're creating professional documents. I know Dr. Kesterson mentioned it earlier that they are very, very important. Some people don't put a lot of emphasis on them, but what a cover letter allows you to do is it allows you to talk a little bit more about your experiences in that your resume is very rigid and has a specific structure that it needs to follow. A cover letter does the same, but it allows more of your personality to come out. And that is what, employers like to look at as well. You're not just a robot that has experiences. You also have a personality that you're bringing with you. And that's what you can, kind of show in that cover letter. There are different sections that you would want to include in your cover letter, right? These different paragraphs. We have the intro paragraph, the body paragraph, and the closing paragraph. It looks like a lot, and some of you look frightened because I said paragraphs. It doesn't have to be 5-sentence paragraphs, right? 4-sentence paragraphs, whatever they're, teaching nowadays. It's just really quick and to the point. But I say paragraph just so that you know that they're different sections. So in the intro paragraph, you'd want to identify the position and state your interest in why you're applying for that position. And then you can talk about who referred you and how you learned about the position. If you have someone in the company that's already working there that you could also name drop here. That's very important to be able to do so that they know, hey, I'm connected with this position already. The second body paragraph, or the second paragraph, sorry, is the meat and potatoes. That's where you talk about your interest in the position. You talk about your skills or experiences that match the position that you're going into. You use action verbs and quantifiers to demonstrate your story. Again, action verbs are very much of like I was a leader in this particular role. I, led a team of 5. So those action verbs give me a lot more information than just, what is included on a resume. Then you want to make sure that you highlight your skills and accomplishments in relation to your employer needs, right? So making sure that you're, again, referencing that job description. And in that closing paragraph, you state your desire for an interview. And then, of course, you say, thank you for taking the time to read my cover letter. Sometimes, it does take a lot of time to read a cover letter. So just definitely thank them for their time to show that you're grateful is very important as well to include on a cover letter. And based off of that, I also have, if it ever decides to click, very nice, another sample that you can use as well. What I like to show on here is that you want it to look very much like the top of your resume. You want the resume and the cover letter to look similar so that it's right for uniformity purposes. And in case your cover letter gets misplaced from your resume, an employer will be able to say, oh, look, these, look pretty similar. They have the first name, last name on there, and they can match those up. But you're very much welcome to use this QR code. It'll send you again to this document. And each of these little paragraphs explains what should go in each paragraph. So you're more than welcome to use this as reference as well. So again, I know I'm giving you guys a lot of information. Any questions? You guys are good? Perfect. Yay, Alejandro, you gave me the head nod. Kennedy, are you good? Perfect. Sounds good. All right. And then honors and awards. Go ahead, Dr. Kester.
I was just going to add that, oftentimes that cover letter is not necessarily for a job, but for you're applying for grad school. So it would be tailored in that perspective. And so, again, it's about highlighting why you are the best candidate for that position and really helping you to stand out.
Yes, absolutely. And then, more so than cover letters for grad school, I think it's that personal statement, which is a lot longer. Jobs don't necessarily require cover letters anymore, not a lot of them, but even if they don't require you to have a cover letter, I still suggest that you write one anyways, because it shows that you're willing to take the time to take the extra step. And that just shows employers that if you're willing to take the extra step before you apply for the job, or as you're applying for the job, you'll also take that extra step in the job as well. So it does show a lot about who you are as a person if you also include that cover letter as well, even if it's not required. So I really suggest that you do it, even if it's not required, to help, demonstrate that you are a hard worker to your employers. It's definitely a good look, I would suggest. Now, that being said, I also wanted to quickly talk about mock interviews. So this is what you guys are going to be coming in for. And I will say again, not sometimes, I would say most of the time students come in and they're really nervous. They're like, I've never had a job interview before, or I've had job interviews, but it's been for like fast food, or, a friend gave me the job, so it hasn't been formal. I understand that you're coming in with a lot of anxiety, but we are here to help lessen that anxiety for you, make it as smooth as possible, and really to give you tips and tricks for when you actually go out into those interview experiences, you feel prepared. So please make sure that you're coming in, obviously still looking professional and still behaving professionally, but know that we're here to help. So in order to prepare for a mock interview, what I would suggest that you do is to have a job description in mind. Please, please, please make sure that you have that job description. It can be off of Handshake, it can be off of LinkedIn, but even if you wanted to bring one in, it's a lot easier for me to read through the job description and then create questions for you based on the job description than just giving you a general mock interview. So that's something that you can do if you wanted to. It's not a must, but it does help, mimic that mock interview experience. One thing that you can also do is identify industry specific common questions and also general common questions, right? There's a few typical common questions like the tell me about yourself, the what are your strengths and weaknesses questions, but there's also some that are industry specific that can even, talk about if you're planning on going into personal training, what is your experience in creating a tailored training program for, this kind of individual. So make sure that you're identifying general common questions and industry specific common questions. You can Google those. I promise you, Google is full of all these really, really awesome suggestions for industry specific common questions. You can look up personal training questions, athletic training questions, high school coach questions as well. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff online. I also want you to think about experiences that you've had that you want to share with an employer. Have you, you want to work with kids in the future, but you've also worked with kids previously. That's something that you should mention during your interview. You have some really cool accomplishments. You did some really cool things in college. Think about those experiences and how you'd want to share them with an employer. And then last but not least, come professionally dressed. You want to emulate that mock interview experience, right? So please come professionally dressed so that, again, you have that interview feel. And then we can also talk about, the outfit you decided to wear and whether it's professional or not. And if we have any tips and tricks for you based on attire as well, because it does say a lot about you. If you come professionally dressed, you give off a certain aura about yourself and you feel more confident as well. So this is what a mock interview looks like. We go over your goals and we discuss your past interview experience. It's very important to know what experience you have beforehand. I give you a brief mock interview session breakdown. I say this is what we're doing first, second, third, so that you're in the know of what's happening. For about 20 to 25 minutes, we go over that interview experience. And I know it doesn't seem like that long of a time, but I promise you, once I start asking those questions, that 20 to 25 minutes seems like a long time. We go over your response review. So any tips and tricks that I have, I'm taking notes as you are doing your interview. Any tips and tricks that I have, I share them with you. So that's a good portion of our appointment as well. And then I discuss next steps and you can ask any questions that you have as well. Yes, it can be done via Zoom. So it is in person or virtually, whatever you are most comfortable with. I will say for both, we are going to be talking about etiquette for in-person interviews. And then if you have a virtual appointment, I want to talk about the etiquette for virtual appointments because, they can be a little bit different. You have to be in control of a lot more when you're in a virtual interview, but we definitely offer both services. So definitely make sure to come in for either. Awesome. Any questions about mock interview experiences?
Not necessarily questions, but the STAR method. Can you tell them about the STAR method?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that is. So this is just quickly what it would look like. This is how you prepare. Let's see, skill drop. I believe I have, or maybe I don't. Nope, I do not have that. So the STAR method, and let me see if I have any questions on here. Yes, so underneath do your research, so we're going to be on this slide here. Underneath do your research, under identifying common interview questions, there are common interview questions that fall under the category of experience-based questions. Those experience-based questions usually start with with the phrase, tell me about a time when, give me an example when. So I would say those two are the most popular. What they really are asking you is to think back on a past experience and tell that story to an employer so that they know you can work through a challenge per se. So if we're looking at the question, tell me about a time when you resolved conflict, you need to be able to tell that story effectively. And the suggestion that we have for that is to use the STAR method. So for the STAR method, we have S, right, which is situation. And I can even put that in the chat for you as well. So we have S, which is situation. And that's basically giving the employer a little bit of a background, right? They weren't there during the event, and you need to kind of lay the groundwork for them. We have T in the STAR method, which stands for task, which is describing your role in this situation specifically. So if I'm giving an example of a time that I resolved conflict, I can say, well, I was in Dr. Kesterson's class. And in that class, we were, put in groups. And my role in that group was to be the one who would give the presentation, right? So situation is giving me the name of the class, who the professor was, the fact that you were involved in a project, and then task is giving me the specific role that you had within that project. A is action steps, right? So in that STAR method, A would be action steps. And if I'm talking about that conflict situation, I can say, well, one of the people in my group, they weren't really holding their own. They were, kind of goofing off, and the project due date was coming up pretty soon. So what I did is I made sure to, first reach out to the student, and I met with them, and still nothing changed. So then I decided the next step would be to meet with Dr. Kesterson to discuss the student's behavior, right? So it's clearly showing me I did this, and I did this to make sure that the situation was resolved. And then last but not least, R in the STAR method stands for result. And that's what was the result of the situation. So if I'm still talking about that experience, I can say, they didn't end up, helping when I talked to them, but once I talked to Dr. Kesterson and she got, involved in the situation, then the student was able to realize, hey, they needed to put in more effort. And, we got an A on the assignment. So it's really kind of going that full circle as to what, how you should respond to a behavior-based question with the tell me about a time when and a give me an example when. So that's definitely a suggestion that I would have you look into as you're responding to the common interview questions, right? For tell me about a time when, and that's something that we'll go into as well as you are coming in for those appointments. And what I would also like to include is on the right-hand side of my screen with the little QR codes for athletic training, personal training, university admissions, and high school coach. These are industry-specific questions for those types of jobs. So you can scan the QR code and it'll give you a list of about 20 questions that they would usually ask during an interview for athletic training, right? Personal training, high school coach, university admissions. And they are, again, pretty popular questions. So you're more than feel free, right, to look through those as well. If you have any questions on those, definitely let me know as well. And let me see. Again, some really quick tips. what to bring. Please make sure that you're bringing in a copy of your resume. You're arriving early, right? Just in case you get lost, you want to make sure that you have the right spot. You want to bring a positive energy, a strong personality, smile, and a little bit of confidence. You got to fake it till you make it sometimes. And what not to bring: unsilenced cell phones. Make sure your phones are silenced. And you can bring backpacks for your actual interviews. I wouldn't bring backpacks or big purses. They can be a little bit distracting. Just bring, wallet, phone, just the important stuff. And then I also have some tips and tricks as to what to wear. Make sure that you're, dressing very conservatively and comfortable. I will also include that a lot of the times, if you're going into like personal training, athletic training, they might have you do a site tour. So wear comfortable shoes for your interview, still professional, but comfortable, right? So that you can walk around a little bit more. And to dress professionally, you don't have to break the bank. You can come into Izzy's closet that we have here within the Career and Professional Development Center. We have a lot of professional clothing, as in blazers, dress pants, dresses, right, that you can borrow from that Izzy's closet. It's a $5 quick deposit. You get your money back when you bring the clothes back. But it is, again, essentially free because you get your money back. Thrifting is also a big one. Marshall's is also pretty cheap. So you don't have to wear like Gucci for your interview. You can definitely come into the Izzy's closet or thrift or go to Marshall's as well. So that is my quick tips for interviewing. After the interview, make sure you send a thank you note, check the status of your application. And if you haven't heard from them in 2 weeks and they told you, hey, we're going to be letting you know within a week or two, you can also, follow up. Just make sure it's not overwhelmingly following up with them and sending them 4 to 5 emails. But you can definitely make sure to follow up. And then make sure you practice. All right. If you have any questions or concerns, please come visit us. We are located in UC 304. You can give us a call or you can create an appointment via handshake. Again, that QR code was earlier in the presentation, but please come in and share any questions, concerns that you have with me, and I'd be happy to meet with you.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. On the previous slide, you talked about the panel interview. So many organizations now, you're not just interviewing with one person, you're interviewing with a few people. If you can find out who those people are, it's always helpful. And that way, and that's the other thing, is research the organization that you're going to be interviewing with. What is their mission? Is it more of a social entrepreneur organization where they're very open and free-minded, I guess is not necessarily a good way to say it, but find out who you're interviewing with if you can. Like for here at the university, we usually have a few panels. So you have your faculty that you'll be interviewing with, like Dr. Bonnet and Dr. Davis, and you can find out a little bit more if you can. If not, that's fine too. The other thing is that how they sign up for the mock interview. Did they do that via handshake?
Yes, for scheduling any appointments with us, they can either call in, right? They can come in person and make one, or they can create an appointment via handshake for virtual or in-person appointments.
Great. So your mock interview is not due until the end of July or August. I have it on the calendar. I would not wait to schedule it. I would schedule it now, and even though it's not due, it's still, that gives you enough time to type it up and get it in and all of that good stuff, because there are other classes that do this assignment as well, and you don't want to be and people go on vacation during the summer, so just really important to make sure that you get this taken care of. Any questions or comments for Jessica? Great job. Thank you so much. It was really good, great information. And I have shared that with them, so they have that.
Awesome.
And you've had some great examples there as well. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate, you allowing us to have this presentation time and share these really awesome services with the students, that I look forward to working with them as they come in.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Right.
All right, let me go ahead and stop sharing so you can share now. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
Okay, you guys hang on, because we have just a few things. I have a few things to go over with you. I have a meeting here in a few minutes, so it's not going to be very long, I promise. Let me see here. Let me share my screen now. And here we go. Do y'all see that? I can't see y'all now. Where are y'all? Okay, well, I see who's in there. I can't see your faces. Oh, let me move this over. Sorry. I don't know. Okay, anyway. It's not working. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to, I have gotten timesheets from many of you, but there are still a few of you that have been working and I don't have timesheets. Remember, those are due within 7 days of completion, so you want to get those in ASAP. And I'll also ask, make sure that you are totaling the hours at the end of each day. It just helps in being able to calculate everything and keep things straight. So you have a professional bio that is due this next Sunday. Now with this bio, you can create it like it is for your portfolio or for your LinkedIn page that you're going to be coming up. Those are just some things to think about as you're writing your bio. Your bio is about you and really tells about why you've decided to go in this direction. And so it talks about your values. And so with this, you could talk about what you're doing now with your internship or with your part-time position, things along that line, but where you want to go from here. And it's not, you really don't want to put anything in there like your birthday or how old you are or those kinds of things. It's really more about the career itself. Describe your values and how they have informed your career and your decisions and going into the profession that you're going into. So very short, I'm talking like a paragraph. It doesn't need to be any longer than that. You can add a little bit of humor and personal story to it as well, just to add a little bit of flavor. Again, you're going to be creating a portfolio in the second term, and this can be added to that. So that's due on Sunday, the 18th. Following that, you'll have a LinkedIn profile. Anybody have a LinkedIn profile already? Okay. Well, if you don't, it's fairly easy. It walks you through these things. And so I do recommend that you have a professional photograph, a little short bio, and then you plug in your education, your current working position, your internship, and any volunteer experience, and your interests if you like to. I will ask that you copy the link into the submission box so that I can find you. It just makes things a lot easier. Does that make sense? So just copy the link of your LinkedIn profile into the submission box, just makes it easier. That is due the 25th. And then you have, I've given you a little bit of lead up time for the cover letter, your resume, and your references. And I just sent that out to you, so you should have access to that. I think that she did a great job in giving you information about that. So I'm not going to cover all of that, but you can kind of see here. References are separate. They're on a separate page. You will have, it's a professional philosophy. It's very similar to your bio. But again, it just goes over your beliefs why, and you could talk a little bit about what the philosophy is for the a professional organization if you want to. But it's really to tell more about your the philosophy of your philosophy in this profession. So you can give some experiences and things along that line. You'll have a 150-hour evaluation form that you will give. Some of you are already there. So Megan, I know you're there. Hopefully you've already shared the evaluation form with them so that they can give you feedback on that. And then you'll be writing up the narrative based upon that. Those are both due July 7th, unless you finish early, which Megan, I know you're going to. So it's due within 7 days of completion of the 150 hours. There's a few of you that are a little bit ahead of the game. And then I will also have an evaluation of your work thus far, the first 5 weeks. So that will be coming up, and it will shadow, it will look very much like your 150-hour evaluation. And that's kind of along the lines of what we're working on. Again, portfolio and mock interview will be in the second term. We'll talk more about those a little bit later, but I do want you to be aware of them and want you to think about them. Get that mock interview, get it set up so that you're not falling behind on that. And then the portfolio, as we're going through all of you want to make sure that you're keeping all the things that we're working on, but also be thinking about projects that you've done in your other classes and things along that line that you can include in your portfolio. And then graduation is coming up. So have you applied? Have you all applied for graduation? Oh, speaking of, the grad fair is tomorrow. Brandon, get on it, dude. So June 15th is the deadline for the $40. Otherwise, you're going to be paying a little bit more if you wait till July 28th. Basically, what they will do is they will do an audit of your file, make sure you have all the classes that you need. And if you may not receive anything. If you receive an email, that's usually not a good thing. It's because you haven't finished everything. So our next meeting we have set up is Tuesday, July 11th from 11 to 12. And we will talk more again about some of the upcoming assignments for the second term. So I'm going to stop sharing. And do you have any questions, comments, or thoughts? I see that, Carolee. Thank you. I saw that y'all were together, and thank you for that. I do want to set up a time to come and visit South Texas Bone and Joint. I need to see y'all's new digs. So, questions, comments, or thoughts? Are you having a blast? Great. I know my internship was my favorite class. It can be a great time. All right. Very good. Well, I'm not going to keep you. If you have any questions, I'm here for a few minutes, but I got a meeting here in a few minutes too. So back-to-back meetings. All right. I'll see y'all later. Have a great day. I'm going to stop recording.